So our second speaker this evening is Anne Harding, and evaluating Anne Harding, and I didn't bring my program. Who is the evaluator? Sorry James, thank you. Could you just mention the objectives, please, James?
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. Anne's speech tonight is the second speech from the storytelling manual. The topic is Let's Get Personal. The objectives are to learn the elements of a good story, and the other is to create and tell an original story based on a personal experience. The time is 6 to 8 minutes.
Thank you, James. So with the second speech this evening, I'd like to welcome Anne Harding with a speech entitled Gotcha, with Gotcha, Anne Harding.
And I'm standing there thinking, oh no, what happens now? Let me take you back though, first of all. I'll tell you in a minute. When I was about 13 years of age, so we're going back almost nearly 50 years, a long time, my mother took me to the place where, during the war years, she had been posted. She'd been sent out of Birmingham, which is where we were living, or where I was born and where I was brought up. She'd been sent out to live with a family, the Stennett family. So later, they were in Grimsby, on the east coast of England. So as I was getting a little bit older, she said, come on, I'm going to take you to meet the Stennett family. Well, imagine a girl who's been brought up in the city, not even allowed to have a push bike because it's too dangerous, who very rarely sees a field or a cow, going out to the wilds of Lincolnshire. Lincolnshire is a flat place with fens, fields everywhere, and to meet the Stennetts. I've been quite restricted at home, so this family was something new to me. Mr. Stennett, as we called him, but I was called him that even though I stayed during school holidays, Christmas time, summer holidays. Len Stennett was a tall man, probably about 6'3". He was a farmer, a pig farmer of all things. He had a hook nose, just like an eagle, and he wore a cap most of the time to cover his very scrawny head. He was one of these men who was just always old. He never appeared young to me. He was always an older man, and he stooped a little bit. He had, I learned later, a very misshapen glass eye, which meant that I never knew whether he was looking at me or not, which is very uncomfortable. Is he looking? Is he looking? And at first you would be a little bit put off by his figure as he'd come in and sit down on the chair in the kitchen and shake his Wellingtons off like this and sit down with his mug of tea. And one eye would go that way and the other eye would go that way. And there I would stand and just not have a word to say. But you know, he was fantastic. He had a pig farm, shares in a pig farm. On a Thursday, I would get up very early when I was staying on holiday with them. Very early in the morning, we'd get into his old van, huddled up because it was very cold on the east coast, and we'd go off to a place called Louth. We'd go to a bakery, and in the back of the bakery, there I would be making sausages, mincing the meat and stuffing the skin with the sausage meat. Or I'd be making Eccles tarts, Eccles cakes if you know them. They're like a pastry, flaky pastry with currants in the middle, and you keep layering them and folding them. And I was doing this with him for the whole day. And then in the evening we would trundle back and the smell from the back of the van, just beautiful. On the Friday, there I'd be on Grimsby Market, selling my wares, the sausages. Come on then, who's going to have this piece of meat for the weekend? Surely you'd like these Eccles cakes. And I was about 13, 14 when I started doing that. He was married to just the most beautiful lady, Beryl. She was a buxom farmer's wife, rosy cheeks, greying hair. Why do older people always look so old when you're young? I don't know. But she was lovely. On a Monday morning, you'd get up about 7 or 8 o'clock in the morning and eggs and bacon would be cooked. But as you walked down the stairs, the smell would be of fresh laundry. She would get up at 4 o'clock every Monday morning to wash all the bed linen. Everything was washed on a Monday morning. So that by the time you got up, you know that lovely smell of soap bubbles and it's crisp and clean, and that mixing with the smell of eggs and bacon, it was just delicious. Of course, bacon was homegrown, just pigs up the road. She was a beautiful lady. Unfortunately, she died fairly young-ish, still older. Now the family, they were amazing. Tony, he was the eldest boy, and he was probably in his early 20s at this stage, just like his dad. Tall, nose, very, very thin. He had a pigeon chest, where the breastbone actually comes out. And he was very, how can I say it? I was a bit intimidated when I first met him. Very tall, very angular sort of guy. Had his dog by him all the time. He'd go out shooting, come back to the small kitchen and skin a rabbit on the table. Now again, city girl, not used to this at all. But he'd skin the rabbit, that would be your evening meal as well. He was a gorgeous, gorgeous guy. Lovely guy. Every winter he used to get asthma. So what do they do for asthma? They get goose fat and layer it on the chest, and then he put his layers of clothing on. That was his winter application for his asthma and his breathing difficulties. Brought about, I believe, because of his chest. Then there was Pat. She was the next sister down. But didn't see Pat very much. She was into boyfriends. The only thing I really remember about Pat was her teeth were more prominent than anything else on her body. So she woke up with Alice and she had glasses, which was nothing wrong at all, but it was just a little bit unfortunate. But then there was Jill. She was my friend. She was closer to my age. She was the youngest. I think she was the mistake, but we never told her that. And Jill was a tomboy. She was raring to go with absolutely anything. Remember I said I never had a bike in the city in Birmingham? I wasn't allowed one, but we used to get on Jill's bike. We'd go up the country road up to the pig farm. I'd be on the seat like this, holding her waist, and she'd be pedalling, you know? I'd never done that before. I have to tell you, there wasn't a pavement, there was only a ditch. The ditch and I met several times. Over we'd go, but I didn't care. We'd go sledging in the winter. It was fantastic. Every summer, every Christmas, I used to go there for a holiday. One winter's evening, we're out playing. I never played out in the street. It was dark, very, very dark, and the mist was gathering around the lamppost. Go on. I can't do that. Oh, go on, they say. What did they want me to do? Run and knock on the front door, and then run away. I'm a very proper girl, you know. I've never done anything like that before. So we're carrying. Go on, that one, Mrs. Green's, that one. All right. So there were two large hedges either side. Run down the path, round the corner, run, off again. And we're waiting. And suddenly the front door opens and the lights sort of whoosh out onto everything. But we think we're really safe. Is that you, Stennets, again? Where are you? I'll get you. That you, Stennets? Sneaking very quietly. And suddenly, gotcha! It was Tony, the boy in the house, the eldest son. Gotcha? Yeah, he said. But don't worry, I'm not going to tell her that you're here, because I've always wanted to do that. So that's my story. Thank you very much.